fucking awesome.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Journey of Your Life. And today is episode 10 already. So we are still in the phase of crossing the first threshold. And I wanna share some stories about this phase of the journey because, in the last video we talked about it. Crossing the first threshold is all about stepping out of your comfort zone and into the unknown, into the new world. And in this new world, you basically discover, well, your purpose, your why am I here, your superpower. Let's put it like that. When you cross the threshold, you will discover your superpower. You are going to do that thing that has been rooted deep down inside of you. It just has to come out. So it's very powerful. It can be very scary, or maybe exciting is a better word. But it is like you're stepping out of your comfort zone in a big way, and you step into the unknown and into a new world. So it's a pretty amazing phase actually of the journey, because this is where vulnerability comes in, and you show yourself for the first time to the rest of the world. And so for me, I did that. I gave my first presentation, I guess you could call it, my first performance, so to speak, and it felt really good. It felt really good in doing that. So I want to explore more. I wanted to explore more. And at that time I was still balls deep in the financial consultancy world. So my life was all about facts and figures, and it was mostly male driven. So whenever I would go to a meeting or convention, maybe like 85% men dressed up in a suit, and you probably can paint the picture, right? So I decided to explore the more spiritual side of me, which I have never done until that time. I mean, spirituality for me was like, incense sniffing, tree hugging, witch-like women doing their thing, and it was not on my radar, absolutely not. But stepping out of your comfort zone is also doing new stuff. So I decided to sign up for a program, and they had this 3-day gathering, you could say. They rented a house like 2 hours from my home, from where I lived. So I drove up there, and it was like a group of people. I think 12 people were there, and when I arrived there, shit, I was the only man. And I gotta tell you, man, that is pretty fucked up. At least for me, it was weird at that time. Because, well, I'm used to a male-driven environment, and then all of a sudden, only women, and I was the only man. So that was like a, whew. And not just, like these incense-sniffing, tree-hugging, crazy-ass bitches, pardon the expression, but those were very successful women that were there. A lot of them have written several books. There were some super coaches there, and I don't know what else. So it was to me, it was very intimidating at that time. And I remember the second day, we were going to do this exercise with the help of a mantra. Now, until that day, I never knew what a mantra was, so I was very curious, and it turns out that a mantra is, well, you could say it's like, I guess you could say it's like a divine spell, something like that, which is really charged with divinity. So the spell is charged with divinity, and it's from the Hinduism and the Buddhism, and it's accompanied usually, or at least that time, with some pretty weird music. And the purpose of listening to a mantra is to get out of your head, to try to stop the monkey, the chattering, if you will, and make a connection with the universe, with the higher self. And the goal of that exercise was to make a connection with the universe, and to gather inspiration, and to write a story about why you do the things that you do. So it's basically the who am I and why do I do what I do page on your website, which is pretty impressive, of course, because finding your why it's very important. Not just what you do and how you do it, but why do you do it? I mean, I don't know if you read the book from Simon Sinek, Start With Why. It's an amazing book. If you haven't read it yet, I can highly recommend it. But that was the purpose of the exercise. So I'd be like, okay, I'm open for anything, so let me have it. So we were sitting there, 11 women and me in a circle, closing our eyes, and this mantra music came on, which is very spiritual and divine and like a sacred moment almost. But once the music started to set in from that mantra, I heard my ego say, what the fuck is that? Because it sounded unlike something that I've ever heard before. And to me, it sounded like the vogeltjes dance. And I don't know, I think it's called the birds dance. I'm not quite sure, but I found a video of it, so let's have a look, okay? So it sounded like this dance, but then on a funeral, because this was like the sacred, divine, spiritual surrounding with this music. So I combined the birds dance with being on a funeral. And that is the picture that filled my head, you know. So I was being on this funeral and I was seeing, you know, people doing the birds dance and everything. And I just, you know, everybody. I mean, can you imagine that, going to a funeral and they play this music and everybody gets up and starts dancing the birds dance? That would make you laugh, right? That would be extremely funny. That would be hilarious. So what happened is I got slapelag, how do you call that? A laugh attack, I guess is the good word for it. A laugh attack. I just felt it burning up. And you know, a really good laugh attack, it's like when you smoke a joint with all of your best friends on a Saturday evening and you just starting to get the giggles and you're gonna laugh your ass off. That's what's starting to happen to me, you know. I just felt it coming up. So I was making these noises. I was trying to swallow it down because, you know, this was a sacred moment. We had all these women, they were connected to something, and I was not. I was obviously not connected to anything. So I felt a bit weird. I felt very weird about it. But I was, you know, suppressing my laughter and everything, and I was doing it so well that I started crying, and not from tears of joy or happiness. It was from my laughter, you know. I was just holding the laughter in, but tears came down my cheeks and down my face, and you know, it was difficult. It was very difficult for me to suppress all the laughing. So after about, I don't know, 10 minutes or 15 minutes perhaps, the mantra stopped, and there were tears on my face and everything. And I remember the woman who was organizing, she looked at me and he said, "Wow, Marcel, you must experienced something really beautiful, because I've seen you making these strange noises and I've seen you been crying during the whole time. Please share with us what you saw, what you experienced." So all the heads of all the women turned to me and everybody was looking at me and I was looking around. You know, have you ever had those moments where you're filled with shame and you just want to dissolve in the ground, and, you know, this big hole would open up and you could just jump in and be gone? That's the moment. That is what I experienced at that moment. So I felt ashamed because I had nothing. Of course, I didn't make a connection to my higher self, to the universe. There was no inspiration. I couldn't figure out a story of why I wanted to become a storyteller. There was nothing there. So I said, well, I'm sorry to let you down, but there's nothing here. So everybody, including myself, was very, very disappointed. But what happened next was inspiring, because the other women started to share their stories about their why. And, you know, all those stories, they were so beautiful, they were so emotional, so vulnerable, and so inspiring. It was amazing, and they were sharing their stories and they were crying, and everybody, I was crying too, and it was beautiful. It was magical. So when I heard all these stories, I discovered a pattern. I discovered something very important. At least to me, I thought it was very important, because a lot of those stories had one recurring theme, and that was childhood trauma. Because the things that they are doing now, you know, being a coach or being a rider, was in many times connected to stuff that they experienced when they were a small child. So I thought to myself, if I want to discover my why, you know, why that it is that I do what I do, I have to go back to my childhood, to my trauma and everything, and see what happened over there, and maybe I can find the answer of, you know, why I want to be this storyteller. Okay, my childhood. Okay, my childhood was, it was good and bad. My parents were great. I had a great upbringing. My dad had a good job. My mom stayed at home. She took care of us. So everything at home was perfect. It was all good. There was nothing wrong there. But on school, I was being bullied. And maybe you ask why, Marcel, why were you bullied? Well, the reason for that is because I was the first kid on the class to receive glasses. And not just like, those glasses, but really thick glasses, I'm talking about the late 70s, they didn't have the thinner glasses they have now, but back then they're like really thick glasses, and I looked like an idiot, I looked like a nerd. So if you are the first kid in the class that received these thick glasses, and you look like a nerd, guess what's gonna happen? Exactly, you're on the top of everybody's shit list. And so was I. I was on the top of everybody's shit list. And for a long time, my life as a small child consisted of hiding and running. You know, you have this flee, fight, or flight. Well, I did all of them, but not the fighting. I was nothing. I was nothing. So I did my best to become invisible, because whenever I would speak up or something would happen, they would come running after me, and I got my ass kicked, and it was not a happy time. But in that same period, so I'm talking about late 70s now, my dad, I guess he was one of the first persons in the village who bought a VCR recorder. Now, I remember those VCR recorders, those first VCR recorders in the late 1970s. They were huge. There was big machines, and they cost a fortune. I think they cost a whole month's salary or something like that back then. So my dad got one. But this was also the time before there were video shops. There weren't any video shops back then. The only place you could rent a movie was to go to a gypsy camp, you could call it, I guess. A woonwagenkamp in Dutch, but I think gypsy camp, yeah, that says it, illegally. So every Saturday I would go with my dad. I was a small guy, 10 years old maybe. I would go with my father to the gypsy camp to pick out these movies, because on TV there weren't any movies on TV. We had a couple of channels, and there was nothing on it. We didn't have 24-hour broadcasting. There were a couple of shows on every night, and that's it, and the news at 8 o'clock or whatever. So we picked out the movies, and every weekend I watched these movies with my dad. And I remember a lot of those movies were the classic westerns, the old John Wayne movies, and the Clint Eastwood spaghetti westerns, and stuff like that. And all those movies had one central theme. It is always about, the lone hero. He walks into, or he comes with his horse, he doesn't walk. He comes with a horse to this village, and he goes into the saloon. Of course, he's being challenged. And it turns out the people of the village are being terrorized by this evil gang, stuff like that. That's basically a very recurring theme in those movies. And of course, our hero is a little bit reluctant, but he finds us in his soul that he has to do good. And of course, he takes on the bad guys, and he saves the people from the village, and he marries the mayor's daughter, and he rides down into the sunset. Something like that. I'm sure you've seen the movie as well. So every time I watched a movie like that, that did something with me. It just gave me this sense of connection. I could recognize myself in that lone hero, that lonesome hero. Yeah, lonesome hero. And I also wish I had the strength and the courage to stand up to my enemies, but of course I didn't. But movies like that, they gave me courage, they gave me hope, they gave me inspiration, they gave me the energy and I guess the courage, you could call. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but it gave me the strength. It gave me the strength to go to school every day and face my demons, face my life, basically, you could say. Face my life. So all those stories had the power to make me feel different. And of course I didn't know it at the time. It just happened. And I started acting like my heroes in the movies. I started dressing like them, talking like them, and I can take a photo album from like the 80s or so, and I can go through it, and I can look at old pictures of me, and I can pinpoint exactly what I was inspired, what movie inspired me to wear those clothes or dress like that. In the 80s I had this cowboy look, which was pretty weird in Holland at that time, but I had the cowboy boots and the flannel shirt and the jeans and everything. Everything was there but the hat and the horse. But other than that, I just this is what you do. I guess that's what I did. All those stories just brought that out in me. So then I knew why storytelling matters so much to me, because I discovered early on, without even knowing it, that stories can change your life. Stories can make you feel better. They can inspire you. They can give you strength. They can give you hope. They can give you courage. They can actually transform the story you are living now. Now, isn't that amazing? That stories can inspire you to change your own story? Well, to me, that is amazing. So, and that was, my why. That's why I became a storyteller, and that's why I know without a doubt how powerful stories can be. And that is also the reason why I help other people, discover their stories, why they are here, and what is the meaning of life, and stuff like that. So, this was quite a long story that I had to share with you. So thank you for bearing with me. Hope you enjoyed it. I hope maybe this, gives you some idea if you're still looking for your why, that maybe you should go to your childhood and, see what happened there, and maybe you can find an answer as well. Anyways, thank you very much for watching this video. If you like it, please do thumbs up, share stuff, But anyways, thanks for watching, and see you again next week. All right? Much love. Bye-bye.